Hey, you like calls? Welcome back. It's another week, another pod. It's not going to be the same level of enunciation and, projection that I normally do on the podcast because this past week I was under the weather. Okay, I was sick. Nothing major, just low energy, really tired, no appetite. Just had to sleep and rest. I still was working, but at a very slow pace. But I still have to make sure the pod goes out. And there was something to talk about this week. There is a lot of news. We're not going to talk about all the news. I'm here to actually talk about a very specific thing and a specific vehicle that got announced. And I figured with the bit of energy I have of this late night that I'm recording this, I actually fell asleep, woke up late, and I was reading the car news, and I was like, hey, this is very interesting, and I'm intrigued. I was like, you know what? Let me take this little bit of this block of time I have some energy. Let's record a pod so I can get it out there for the folks this week. So forgive me if this isn't at the same level of my normal enthusiasm, but I'm here with y'all today. If I look tired on the screen, it's because I am. Okay? So we're just going to keep rocking, all right? Because these are the moments that you got to get over, okay, to prove the 10,000 hours. So, episode 93, CarQuicks Podcast, your host, Cameron Biggs, at 80%, 75, 80%, maybe 70 to 80. I don't know. It's a variable depending on what's going on. But I'm here, and we're here to drive into some news. Now, the other news that's going on is in China, Shanghai has their auto show going on. I don't know if it's over. It might still be going on. But if you're interested in seeing some pretty wild electric vehicles because they are full steam ahead on the EVs, there's plenty of them out there. Very interesting design. Some of them questionable. I know Lexus announced their new ES EV, which is a complete redesign of their vehicle from the previous ES, which essentially looked like honestly, it used to always look like a rebadged Camry, if you ever seen a Lexus ES. The new one now, I'm going to show a quick picture. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but see, at first when I saw it, I said, okay, the exterior ain't that bad. Then I slept on it, and then I woke up, and I said, you know what? What's happening is something I said before. Designs are so polarizing that like we just accept them now. Now, boxy and sharp angles is not something that I dislike. I do like it. Like on SUVs, like Tellurides or what Hyundai's done or Kia or even Lexus themselves, I'm not mad at it. I'm like, hey, boxy SUV. I mean, like I'm not mad at that. SUVs to me, I don't look at as being inherently beautiful designs in general. They're utilitarian, so it kind of matches what's been going on. I mean, I like old Land Rovers and Land Cruisers, and those are boxy type of vehicles in a way, right? Not all of them, but I'm just saying we never looked at them like, ooh, look at that beautiful artistic display of engineering. However, what Lexus showed on this ES is I don't know if they just want to make sure that their EVs are always separate from the way they look and that there is no confusion. But this design language they have moving forward from their previous years is starting to become a bit odd in certain aspects. This ES is probably the first time I'm just like, I don't know. Like this exterior, this front end, this very flat nose. There's multiple sharp lines. It's very deep indented character line in the doors to the rear doors is almost to me an unnecessary element because it didn't add anything except now you got to have either body colored or it needs to be black or something where it just adds a contrast onto the side of the design. I don't get it because if luxury is exude elegance, something looking sexy, nighttime, evening, romance, like the things that luxury that you normally put together, that the words that you think in your head, when you think luxury, when you think, the way that these luxury manufacturers market their videos and their commercials, I would always expect it to have a look where you can look at it and be like, man, That's just a beautiful looking design. And it's not like Lexus doesn't have the money to design whatever they want. I just think that they're almost forcing in the idea of like, because we're a Japanese company, we're going to make it look very, this might be a bad term to say, like, I'm saying anime-ish, but it's very, you could see the culture of it, which is not bad if you want to implement that type of culture, what you're known for and what you have seen and designed before. But they can do this better. They can do this better. They can be more understated and hit those same points they want to hit. The Toyota Century is a perfect example because this stuff is usually marketed for the Chinese markets and the US market because they tend to give us the more outrageous designs. The Japanese market tends to want to be understated. Hence why they have things like a Toyota Century, which is a full-blown luxury car, wrapped in a shell that is very understated and elegant. So they can do it if they want to. But I know this stuff is marketed towards, first and foremost, the Chinese market where they announced it at the show, because if you saw the EVs they had there, their design wasn't even close to the craziest looking one. So I kind of get that angle of it, but obviously this is going to come to the US market. And I'm like, man, when you put this up against other, not even just EVs, but it's supposed to go up against the BMW 5 Series, Mercedes, E-Class. It's just, this stuff is starting to just not have a look that's going to stand even 2 years from now. It's just going to get to the point where it's like, man, it's just a blocky, Roblox looking design. And BMW isn't that far off from them either. So I can understand them following suit, because if BMW is making money over there doing that, they're probably like, we're going to do the same thing. The only a few of the companies can implement some futuristic looking design with some elegance is like Audi. And Mercedes is kind of still going to their own beat of the drum. And this is why companies like Genesis can come out of left field and start wiping the floor with people, because they're designing better looking cars. If you put me in front of a Lexus ES or a Genesis G80, I'm buying a Genesis G80 every single time. It looks so much better than what this is. And then you get to the interior, the dual computer monitors on the dashboard. I'm not calling these digital displays. I don't care. Okay. This is a terrible looking implementation. Okay. These are computer monitors on the dashboard. And that's what they gave us. Just two big 15-inch computer monitors on the dashboard. I've been saying for a long time that we have to find some better interior design when it comes to the mass-produced cars and trying to implement digital displays, because this is a lazy effort from a company and a parent company, Toyota, who has ample funds, R&D, access to just truly nail the design. And they did a better option of it because they also announced the Bz7, which is like the Toyota Camry version of their same EV from Lexus, and it looks way better, as you can see from the picture. So I'm just saying, I might talk more about it later, but the Lexus one kind of threw me for a loop. At first I was like, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. But then the Bz7 I saw, and I was like, see, I wasn't crazy. They designed that one to look better. It is the same type of platform. It's marketed down below. It's essentially our EV Camry that will eventually make its way here. It might go under the same Bz7 name, but if you look at it, you can see the Camry in the front. You can see that same Prius where the headlights are designed. You can see the lineage. The interior looks better. It's a cleaner design. It is more elegant. How is the Toyota more elegant than the Lexus? What's going on? I don't get it. I think some of it is trying to be too different for the sake of being different, as opposed to, hey, let's do what we're known for and let's aim at it and knock it out and execute it well. I'm just saying, the Lexus ES one, that's going to be an interesting thing. I'm sure in person it'll look a little bit better. I'm sure in a darker color it'll look a little bit better because it's going to hide some of those lines and things like that. But like I've said before, if I got to choose darker colors in the darkness of the shadow of the moonlight or the golden hour to make a car look good, then there's a problem. Like, now I got to have all these stipulations to look at it. Like, oh, if I look at it at 3 degrees to the west when the sun is setting, then it looks really good. That's the problem. Like, I shouldn't have to do all that. Just my opinion on it. But this whole episode actually is dedicated to another electric car. I know. But this one I'm actually truly interested in. And it's something that I've talked about before for years, saying, listen, the moment we get to this stage is when this implementation of EVs being more readily available or readily, let's say, in the hands of the masses as compared to combustion engines, or just giving people the option of having something that is inexpensive and does what they need, we'll start seeing bigger adoption. And a company got announced today that I think has gone as close. It's still an ambitious thing. It still has to be executed. But on paper, they've done what we've been asking for. Now, will it result in sales? Will it result in people buying the vehicle? Will it result in a successful company? Will it result in other manufacturers following suit? That remains to be seen, because this is brand new. But at least they're coming to the table, answering a question and going against the grain of what we have seen before. And going against that grain right now is most EVs that come out that are like SUVs or sport utility vehicles are hyper expensive at this point. I mean, like a Silverado EV can get up to $100,000. $100,000 EVs are regular everyday things, which is nuts, because $100,000 for any type of item is a lot of money. And especially on an EV that depreciates faster than any other type of vehicle, it's outrageous. But there is an ample amount of EV startups and companies that first start off with their price points in the $75,000 to $100,000 range, $50,000 to $60,000 to $70,000. And every time they release a car, they say, hey, we're working our way to get down to like a $30,000 Model 3. We're trying to make a $20,000 this vehicle. We're trying to make like they always have to start all the way at the top and then try to work their way down. And it takes years and years and years. Some of it gets lost in the way, and by the time it shows up, it's still $40,000. So they never made it to what they said they were going to do. Rivian has expensive SUVs and trucks, very good cars, but if you don't go there with at least $70,000, a lot of stuff isn't going to happen. Now they have some hopefully cheaper options coming, but if the incentives aren't applied and things of that nature, you're still looking at $60,000. And the smallest vehicle that they have shown, which was the R3, is still being rumored at $50,000. So none of it is actually cheap. It's just more, I guess you can say, a less expensive option than the top of the pile. Lucid Air being an example. Tesla with the Model 3 being the most inexpensive option that you can get now. If you go to their website and get a brand new one, you're still spending a substantial amount of money, unless you go to the used market and you can get one for dirt cheap because they depreciate so badly. So your options for vehicles, for EVs that are inexpensive, becomes less and less, right? There's a few ones coming out moving forward, like Nissan's Leaf is now becoming an SUV. We don't know what the cost of that's going to be, but they usually shouldn't be anywhere over $40,000. It might start in the mid 30s, might start in the high 30s. If you look at other vehicles that could be EVs, like I said, your options become limited, and then you have to decide if it's what you need, if you want to have this option, if you want to put this on. And then sometimes people like myself have said, where's like just the bare bones, back to basics EV, just like get us what we need and get it done? Well, somebody's trying to do it. They're called Slate. So Slate is a new company that is supposedly backed by Jeff Bezos, Amazon creator, CEO. I don't think he's CEO anymore, but you know who Jeff Bezos is. And a slew of other people in his world. There's a CEO, there's marketing people, there's obviously people behind the scenes that are running this new company that got announced. But Slate, being an EV startup, whenever you hear about EV startups, I mean, we got plenty of horror stories. Fisker, I mean, come on now. Plenty of people bought an Ocean. Those things are done now. It's over. Out to the ocean. It's done. If you have one of those, the company's bankrupt, they don't exist. If you got parts or something like that, I mean, good for you, but the time is ticking. You got other companies that show up. There's plenty of startups, right? But never is a startup shown up with something that is inexpensive. And what I mean by that is, usually the first introduction is always expensive. It's a $60,000 SUV with all these luxury options. panoramic moonroof and heated ventilated seats, which is kind of standard fare right now, if I'm being frank. But it's always a luxury item. It's always something that does everything. 600 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, tow 4,000 pounds, put the kids to sleep in massaging seats in the rear, panoramic sunroof, screens in the dash, screens in the headrest, screens on the ceiling. It's just a lot of things to then try to warrant the price tag that they're offering. And most of the time, that doesn't keep the price high. It depreciates it even faster probably as the time goes on. So when you're looking at these cars, you're like, okay, where's the simple stuff? Where's it just efficient, give me what I need to do, get me from point A to B without all the frills, and let it be inexpensive. So they released a Slate Truck. And what I do like about this is that they're keeping it so simple. It's called Truck. There's no the Slate Expedition, the Slate Summit, the Slate Trailblazer, the Slate Overland, the Slate Sahara. We're not throwing it's a Slate Big Bend. There's no parks. There's no national trails. There's no mountain summits. There's nothing like that. It's nothing to try to jazz you up into thinking it's something that it's not. It's called Truck. Slate Truck. There you go. And there's only one model. There isn't 15 different versions with 7 different configurations, dual motor, triple motor, single motor, all-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, three-wheel drive. It's none of that. Keeping it dead simple. It's rear-wheel drive, single motor. That's your options. The two that you could have is a bigger battery. But let's just talk about some of those details. Let me just break those down when I bring this up real quick. So the simplicity of it, and as you can see on the picture, and if you're not looking at the video, I implore you again, follow me where you can watch the video, like Spotify and YouTube. Now, if you're looking at this picture, you're like, this looks like a very plain gray looking truck. And that is why I like this. Okay. One, it's a small compact truck. Back to compact trucks, because right now, if you go to buy an EV truck, they're monsters. Okay. If you ever seen how big a Chevy Silverado EV is, or the Denali EV, or a Hummer EV, or even a Rivian pickup truck, they're big. Like you stand next to them, you're like, these is huge. Hence why they also cost that much, but they also have bigger batteries and things like that. I understand, right? Some people need big full-size trucks. But the reason why cars or trucks actually like the Ford Maverick do so well is because it got back to the simplicity of having a small truck that did like 95% of what everybody needed. The 5% that need the super duty, they already know where they're going. They don't even need to be convinced. They're like, listen, I got to haul a horse trailer. I got to haul a car trailer. I got to haul a fifth wheel, RV. I got to haul a boat. They're not even looking over here. They already know where they have to go because of the weight restrictions that they have. But for everybody else that's looking for a truck that has utility for the few times they got to go to Home Depot or the flower store, or they got to go help somebody move, or they got to pick up a box here or something there, they usually end up with a truck, and they end up with a full-size one because that's really most of your options. And some of the small-size ones cost near a full-size one. So you just end up with the full-size Tundra because the Tacoma might be $4,000 away from the big boy. But Mavericks and stuff like that blew up because it kept the price low, under 40, and it was creating that market back where it was like, here's a compact truck. It still can haul stuff. You can still put stuff in the bed. You still can do what you need to do. No, you're not towering over everybody. No, it can't haul a cigarette boat, but you still can do what you need to do. This is the same idea, bringing it down into the $20,000 range, which is where this story takes off, because introducing a brand new EV that's a truck and saying that it is $20,000 is automatically going to put you in the news. Now, that $20,000 is based on the incentives that they're hoping to stay in place to give you that. But the rumor is that even if those incentives do not apply, that they can get this in at $25,000. So $25,000 gets you this looking truck. It's called Slate because its color is slate, and there are no color options. That's how bare bones is getting. That color you see is a natural color of the composite body panels that are used to build this little truck. That's all you get. If you want other colors, you got to customize it yourself. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's just talk about the stats real quick about what this truck is. So the towing capacity is 1,000 pounds. I did read somewhere where a few articles are like, oh, that might hold it back. I kind of laughed and said, no, it won't. Because, like I've said before, if you're truly towing stuff like cars, boats, RVs, you're not buying one of these. You're buying a full-size truck. You might be buying a diesel. So 1,000 pound towing capacity for me, I'm like, that's more than enough to hook up a little U-Haul trailer if you got to put something in there and drag 1,000 pounds. That's fine. The payload is 1,433 pounds. I'm like, all right. So that ain't bad altogether. I mean, I don't know if you can do it all together and it'll be like 2,500 pounds you're moving around, but I'm just saying decent. That's all I would say I would need. My minivan that my wife drives, that can tow up to 2,500 pounds. We have never hooked anything up to that to tow. So I'm just saying the reality of the situation for most people is that they really are never going to tow anything. So the 1,000 pounds to me ain't a bad thing. Then it gets to the power. It makes 201 horsepower, 195 foot-pounds of torque, and the range is either 150 miles or 240 miles. The range is dictated by the battery pack. 52.7 kilowatt hour battery pack for 150 mile range, 84.3 kilowatt battery pack for 240 miles of range. 150 obviously isn't a crazy amount in the world of EVs where we're trying to get to this basic borderline number of like 500 miles everywhere you go. But considering what this is and at the cost it is, a lot of people will say, oh, that's all I need. I just need that. This is going to be the runaround car to run the errands, pick up things. In my head, I actually thought about people that have like farms or a lot of land where they're buying these $40,000 Can-Ams to do the same exact thing. And if this can cost $20,000 and you had land, you had to haul things around, this would be a cheaper option. And you only need 150 miles to do that. And it could charge on the same Tesla charger with the NACS port. So you still have the convenience of the same power stations and all the charging stations that everybody else is now tapping into from Tesla. So we have compatibility across the board. Now, with the towing and the horsepower, you get to the size of it, right? So by reference, they said it's like, in comparison to, say, a Maverick, I wanted to find out what the distance and size was. It's like 6 inches shorter than a Maverick. It's a very small truck. It's not big. So it's not, even though it's shorter than a Maverick, its bed is actually bigger than the Ford Maverick. For instance, it's 60 inches deep, 42.9 inches wide. It won't fit like an 8x8 or 6x8s or anything like that. But if you put the bed down, you put the little door down, you can put some other things on there that extend a little bit longer, but you still can hold pieces of plywood. You can hold some pieces of sheetrock. You still can take care of a fair amount of business in this flatbed on this little truck. And you have a frunk. Like the frunk area, as it's shown in this picture, has enough space that you could turn it into an ice chest. You can put a whole stroller in there. I saw in the video, you can haul boxes in there, bags. It's convenient. So you have this little truck. It has enough utility to haul anything from Home Depot that you need in a reasonable fashion, as long as you're not a general contractor with a crew. That would be a little bit different. But for, let's say, the people that pick up stuff from home and you got to get paint and you got to get maybe some plaster or just a couple things, makes perfect sense. Then you get to the interior. And the interior is where I almost applaud this, because when I started this podcast, I was talking about just the craziness of seeing giant screens just plastered on dashboards. And here we have the polar opposite. No screens. As you can see here, when you get this, it is bare bones. We got roll down windows, which, man, there's going to be a group of people that are going to applaud this and saying the least amount of electronics to get in the way, the better. So, yes, you have AC. Yes, you have heat, as you can see, but roll down windows, no infotainment. You have one little digital display in front of the steering wheel that obviously will show you something like your speed. It may not even have cruise control. I don't know. It won't have a crazy amount of smart features. It will not be self-driving. They will have safety features and stuff of that nature, but it's going to keep it basic to what the driver needs. If you need infotainment, if you need navigation, They give you a phone holder. And I was like, genius. You know why? Because guess what a ton of people do all day long? They put their phone on the windshield or on the dash to navigate them next to another big screen that probably has navigation, but you probably got to pay a subscription for it. So they don't even want to do that no more. So guess what they do? They use their phone that they already pay a monthly fee on to navigate themselves around. Perfect. We might as well stop playing around and just get back to the basics. So they give you a little phone holder. But if you want something bigger like a tablet, they also have accessories where you can mount a whole tablet on the screen. If you want to go, Tesla, if you want to go a la all these new cars that have giant screens on them, go get yourself whatever iPad or Android tablet and just stick it in their little holder. And there you go. Have fun. You can watch Netflix, TV, whatever you want to do. You got a whole tablet there to entertain yourself and navigate you wherever you want to go. I'm like, genius. Don't worry yourself about making an infotainment system hardware. You don't got to worry about processors and CPUs and UI and how to control it and hand controls and eye controls and voice controls. Listen, they're skipping all of that. What they actually focused on is where it got really cool for me is the customization. So if you see these pictures, because there is no color options, they said we'll offer wraps, design wraps, liveries that you can buy, have applied to the truck. When it comes to the interior, if you want the larger tablet, that's like a little accessory to add to that. If you want to then change the way the truck actually looks and functions, they take it to the next step because it's actually modular. So let's just say you get the truck, single cab, 2 seats, working out fine. You're like, you know what? I wish I could just kind of throw the kids in there, run down to the beach or take them to school real quick and come back home. You can buy a 5-passenger kit. Basically gives you a squared off roof that looks like a mini Discovery, Bronco, or the Jimmy that was in other countries. 3 more seats in the back, a little roll bar that you bolt in, panels that you bolt in that can also even have the roof come off as well. And now you got a 5-passenger. They even have one that has like a little fastback look that you can have on it. You can buy that little kit. Now, I don't know how much those kits cost. I'm sure they won't be the cheapest thing. I'm sure if you go and get this and say, I want the 5-passenger kit with all the accessories and doodads, you might end up at a $40,000 to $50,000 truck that originally started at $20,000. But the idea that it's there for later, if plans change, is what makes this cool, because modular ideas have been something that we can't even do when it comes to cell phones. They've teased about a modular cell phone and say, oh, as you get things go on, you get more RAM and more CPU, but that just never worked out, right? The cell phone's a lot harder to do. The vehicle part makes sense because even if I did buy that piece and I don't need it every single day, if it's easy to take off, easy to store, then I have it there for when I need it. The same way when people buy Jeep Wranglers and Ford Broncos, they take off the door panels and this and that and have little accessories. It's a common thing in the truck and SUV world for people to do that. So to have it from the factory, but have it at a very low incentive for entry, basically saying $20,000, then you want to add some accessories, add what you need, or come back later if plans change and add something more to it. And that's not even tapping into what the aftermarket would ultimately do when this comes to fruition. The aftermarket is going to take this and run, because they're going to say, oh, if I can bolt things on, and because if you read articles about this Slate truck, many of them said that there's like channels and things all around the truck for where these accessories attach and what they bolt into. And the purpose, and I would imagine that they're doing, is that they're making it so that the aftermarket does tack itself onto this, because that pushes and drives into sales more. You can even change the way the headlights look. You can change out the headlights. You can change out the front grille. You can change out anything you need outside of the base structure. And then even on the interior, if you want to add little, what they're called like sladles or something like that. You know when you have Crocs and you put the, little Croc charms on there? It was like something, imagine that idea, but inside of the front grill where the AC vents are. It was like little pieces that you can stick in there. I forgot the name they had on it because I was watching a video on it, but I forgot the name it was. But it was just, I'll show a picture of it. It was just a cool feature of just something to personalize your vehicle that is clearly going to be cheap. It's not going to be expensive. Somebody else is going to make plenty of those, but it just added some options to it. Even down to the stereo. There is none. The stereo is an option too. You want some speakers? Add the speakers as an accessory. Now, some people are going to say that's outrageous. However, if you ever driven around in your streets, you probably saw plenty of people that had AirPods or headphones in their ear driving their car, listening to a podcast or something, and not even using a car stereo. Guess what? Back to basics. That's what we're trying to do here. And if we're trying to make $20,000 vehicles an option that have good range, a decent 0 to 60 up to at 8 seconds, a 90-mile-an-hour top speed, which means you can go on the local highways and not get yourself killed, a charging ability up to level 3 of fast charging, then we got to start chopping some of these ideas out of here that aren't necessary for the utility of what this vehicle is. And the fact that it's called Slate Truck and it looks how it looks, you won't approach this being shocked that there aren't heated and ventilated seats. At least you shouldn't. Because if that's what you want, somebody has it for you. Like across the street or across the way, there is an electric truck that has everything you just asked for. It has heated seats, it has ventilated, it has navigation built in, it has panoramic sunroofs, it got everything you want. It also costs $90,000. Okay, so you got to pick your battles. So the Slate Truck, to me, introduces what a lot of people have asked for when it comes to inexpensive, small trucks. And that's why I said what remains to be seen is if this will be successful. Because here's one thing that we can do as car enthusiasts, is we can definitely ask for something and then it comes out. And what we say is, man, when these hit the used market, because that's what they're going to say. They're going to say, oh man, 25,000, 20,000? I can't wait till one shows up with 40,000 miles for like 12. Because that's what we do. We ask for it and then we talk about, oh, I can't wait till there's someone from a fleet management company that sells them all for $10,000 and I go scoop one up for the low. That's what we do. Hopefully this incentivizes people to actually go and say, oh, I needed something that was just basic bare bones. If I needed another utility vehicle and this is now available, I would say I go get a Slate Truck. If I needed something to just throw some stuff in the back, throw some things in there from like Home Depot, help move something around, just something real quick to beat around the streets for like some errands, I for sure would consider a Slate Truck because it makes perfect sense. Honestly, one of the other cool things about the lack of all the features and distractions inside of the interior was if you have kids that are first driving and you have one of these, only thing they can use is their phone for navigation. Can't do anything else. Ain't no big screens, ain't no distractions. You just got to sit there and drive. You don't even got to worry about massaging the seats, changing the ride, none of that. All you got to do is get in there and drive. So it might be a perfect vehicle for just getting from point A to B for people that are just learning how to drive. And if you think about companies that need company vehicles, this is why you see a lot of Ford Mavericks that have company logos on them as well. But imagine now we get down to this point, and then obviously if you're wholesaling it for fleet companies, the price probably comes down even more. You can see a lot of these running around, especially when you can easily wrap liveries on it, because if you can see from the design, it's block. It's a box, okay? It's a little box, which does have its nice look. You can even add a tire little kit on the rear if you want to get down to having it look like a true just little off-road SUV. So companies would be very much interested in having like these in their fleet to have them run around for companies. Easy to repair is obviously. Now I don't know how they hold up when it comes to crash test ratings. That remains to be seen, because obviously when you got a modular setup and you are taking parts off and putting parts on, structural integrity is a thing. So I don't know how this is going to handle normal highway traffic, safety tests that they're going to run on it. We don't know what the crash rating is going to be. I'm hoping that it is good and that it is what you want to see and not some wild, like, oh, it just barely skated by on that, T-bone test we just did. It's interesting. So we don't know about that yet. I would imagine with the people involved and understanding that they're trying to disrupt an automotive market, because the CEO, she mentioned that the reason why they did this because vehicles cost too much. She was like, the average cost now is at $50,000. And I've said it before, the cars are expensive. And if people are trying to get around and just need something simple, it just becomes a more and more expense that really causes people to just pause what they're doing, not buy anything, and then we get no innovation. And there's plenty of ways to do this, and it's just cool to see a company actually trying to do it. Now, like I said, I don't know what the success rate is going to be. I do know that they are slating for this to come out in 2026. You can put a deposit down of $50. That's crazy. Okay. $50 deposit put you in line, which I'm sure they probably got a ton of people that do their $50 and said, hey, let's just see what this looks like. Now, 20,000 is still $20,000. You still gotta pay that. If you don't got it, you still gotta do, loan and how much interest rate. So I mean, it's still money. I'm not acting like $20,000 just got sitting around in my back pocket, like, oh man, I've been waiting to throw this at something. So it still costs some money. But what we have coming, if they do this and they do it right, it's something that we've asked for. And I've said before, like, let's get back to having some more fun with these EVs. The customization's cool. I like the bare bones aspect of it because it really answers the question of what do you need? Do you need that? Because a lot of times you go to car dealerships and the trim levels are what they are, or what they have on the lot. And you kind of just sometimes walk your way into maybe a higher trim that you really didn't need. But if they say there are no trims, the truck is $20,000. Now, if you want to add the tire kit, you can go ahead and do that. If you want to add the premium stereo, you can do that. Or you can add the basic one. Or do you need the 5-passenger configuration? Do you need that right now? You don't need that right now? And plus it's going to be direct to consumer because it's going to be through a website. That really has you sit there and say, you know what? I don't need any of that. I'm going to stick my phone in that phone holder. Roll down windows are going to hold me down. Does it have AC? Yes, cool. That's all I need right now. Now, what I really think this is going to be cool for, certain businesses, just throw some ideas out there. A friend of mine is getting into auto detailing. I saw this and I was like, my bad, I'm all smacking the microphone. I saw this and I said, oh, auto detailers? Perfect. This is a perfect setup because you can get not necessarily the 5-passenger, but if you needed the shell, you can work something out probably where you can have that built in there and then have your build out for your air compressor and water tank and stuff inside of the truck. You probably can fit it in the bed there and all the compressor and stuff you need anyways. Cause I've seen people put detailing kit setups inside of the trunks of Civics. So anything's possible. So detailing people, couriers, delivery, like medical couriers, food delivery, people that run small businesses, pet grooming, pet supply, like there's a world that this type of vehicle being at this cost makes a lot of sense for a lot of people, and it keeps it very simple, and they can just decide like, listen, I don't need all of that. I'm gonna put some AirPods in my ear. I got my phone for the radio. I don't need nothing else. Okay, I'm cool with it. So that was what was announced, and it'll be made here. I don't know what state, but they're talking to different states and where they're going to do. And we'll see how this takes off. I mean, when I say modular, I mean modular, even down to airbags. Okay. I was reading a part of this article just right now, and they were like, yeah, airbags can be installed. And I'm like, they probably give you one in the driver, I would imagine, as just a bare bones, but there may not be one on the passenger. You might be like, oh, do I get you one? Which is a funny conversation. That's funny to buy a car and you got to decide if you want your passenger to have an airbag. You sitting there like, how often do I really like them like that? I mean, that's gonna cost me how much extra? They got a seatbelt. I mean, honestly, if you into classic cars like I am and old JDM cars and stuff like that, ain't no airbags. So folks riding them things all day long. No airbags, no. We got seatbelts. But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how much modularity they have inside of these vehicles. So it's going to be interesting to see. They're trying to figure out where they're going to build it in America, what state. They are building it here in America. What state they're going to build it in, don't know. The tax incentives are going to still be in there. They don't know. The ambition in the push is to make this to be less than $20,000 after all the federal incentives are added. And if there are no incentives, to basically keep it under like $25,000. I'm intrigued. I like how this looks. This reminds me of that other company, which is basically vaporware. It's called like Alpha Motors. They make some fire renders of EV trucks that look ridiculous, but there's nothing here. And that shows you how hard it is to make a car company. So if Jeff Bezos, who has plenty of money to start a car company because he's worth however many hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're keeping it this simple and they're keeping it to composite materials and panels that can bolt on and off, I think they're on to something that makes a lot of sense, and they'll probably sell a lot of them. and it'll probably do well. I don't think that you can mess this up if you keep it simple. It only gets messed up when you complicate it by trying to do things that you don't need to do. Don't try to compete with Rivian or Tesla or a Chevy Silverado EV. They're making full blown out vehicles with infotainment and everything. That's not your MO. That's not your niche. If you keep it to where this is right here, even simplifying it below something like a Ford Maverick, then we have something that could be a success. It ain't for everybody. That's one thing. If you're looking at this and you're like, man, how you fit people in there, kids, and I don't know, I'm going to haul and drive. It's not for you then. That's why I like it. I like it because it does niche it down to your necessities. Like, what do you really need to do? So you get from point A to B, just haul something around, move things, run errands. This is all you need. You don't need anything else. We'll see how this goes. And this is cool. I like it. It looks cool. It got customization. I like the simplicity. It's just, I don't know. It's almost refreshing how simple it is because of how complicated things have gotten with vehicles now. From design to interior to electronics to technology inside. Sometimes it just feels easy and you can understand what this is and you're not confused. You see this, you're like, I know what that's for. I know what that is. You see some other cars, you're trying to figure out, okay, is that trying to be this? Or why do I have to have that? Why can't I not have this? At least this is so bare bones that you don't enter this expecting anything. You come in there saying, this is a-la-carte. How do you want your burger? Do you want it plain? You want cheese on it? What do you want? Look at the menu. Add all that up, and then you can have a burger that costs $30. You don't want none of that? The burger is $3. Okay, so same concept here with this little truck. So the Slate Truck. We got a year for this to come out. Late 2026. Kind of sounds like more like 2027, so it might be more like 2 years. But it's going to be interesting to see how this goes through, especially when it comes to the deposits, where they're going to build them, how they're going to allow you to personalize it, how much and you can do a lot. Like if you go on the website, you should check it out because if you go to the personalized section on the website, there's a lot that they're showing you that you can do, from the wraps to the kits to the modular parts on it to the partial wraps to the wheels to the lighting, interior. It's really cool to see because it's really giving you the option of deciding how much you care about all these things and if you want to pay for them and if they're not something that you care that much about. Like some of it might just be like, I can live without it. Some of it might be, I have to have this in the car. So it's very cool to see this. And it's just nice to see something that's just built around the consumer deciding what they want. They built everything out. They gave it to you. Now you put together what you want. If you don't want any of this, you don't have to have it. If you want some of it, you can add what you need. And even when it comes to like the bring your own tech thing is cool because when I was testing, just to kind of throw this out there before I end this, when I was testing a Ford 4Runner, they had this little speaker in the middle, a JBL speaker that came out. You could take it with you if you're hiking, going on the beach. And so when you see something like this, I'm like, okay, cool. If they give me a little speaker holder to hold my own little JBL speaker to be the radio for the car, then perfect. I just take the speaker out, go about my way, come back, plug it into the USB-C charger, and let it be the stereo again. I mean, you can't knock it. I'm showing you a picture of what I'm talking about, and it had this little speaker holder. But this whole bring your own tech thing is basically them saying, listen, we ain't going to worry about it. You already got a better phone that has a better infotainment than we could probably build for the right amount of money. So just use that. We'll see. And that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about, really. I wanted to talk about the Slate. I know I spoke about the Lexus ES in the beginning, but this Slate's going to be cool. This is like a DIY thing that hasn't happened in the automotive space yet. Nobody has executed this. The ideas have been there. They've talked about it. People have hinted at it. They've talked and wrote it down and said this would be really cool to do. Now they got it here. You can make a deposit today on their website. You can check out the configurator. You can reserve it. You can look at the FAQ, the charging. It's all there. We'll see how this goes. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's smart. We need more of this. We need more and more of inexpensive, purposeful built vehicles that might need to just start niching down into certain categories. Everything doesn't have to be everything for everyone. Sometimes you just got to nail the people that know what they need and knock it out. Well, that's all the energy I got. I'm dwindling down. So until then, next week I'll have full energy because I'm already recovering. I'm at like 75, 80%. So hopefully by next week, things are at 100% and we can be back to our normal scheduled program with the same level of inflection and sense stress and modulation. Okay. So do as you wish. Oh, hold on. Before I exit out of here, GR Corolla updates. The hood, the Circuit Edition hood is done. My boy, Liddy Shack, if you haven't checked that YouTube channel, go and do so, has been using it as a practice bed of learning bodywork, paint, and techniques and all that for a few months now and knocked it out. I mean, now we got in-house paint and body. I can't even wait to sit the front lips and everything to him. Now, as far as performance and any other parts, I haven't put nothing else on. I did take the exhaust off because I found out there's a crack in it. We got a new exhaust from the company. I'm actually giving that exhaust to a friend of mine, and we're going to do a little switcheroo because we're going to go test out another exhaust from another company. That's coming in like a month or so. All right. So in due time, I'm back to stock exhaust, but I got some things coming. And this weekend is GT America race. By the time you hear this podcast, I'm probably already going to be there at the track at COTA, checking it out, hanging out with some friends, some other GR Corolla owners. I have some other parts coming too, working with another company out of Australia. Something is coming that is special. And I keep working and keep reaching out and keep doing what I said I'm going to do. SEMA registration is opening up next week. My credentials are already guaranteed because they said you're one of the few people that you're guaranteed. We saw your work. We like what you do. You're in there. I already told my wife, I said, guess what we're going to be doing in November? She's already down for the campaign. So that's going to be fun. More car reviews are coming. I have more to put up. I have more events happening. I have a really fun one coming up in a week or so. I'm actually going to use my wife as, she's going to be my content piece on this one. I have an idea. So she's going to come along for the ride. And that's it. So until then, do as you wish. Do as you may. It's Cameron Biggs, your host. It's another episode of CarQuicks Podcast. I'll see y'all around.